What insane demon haven't I beaten? Let's read something real quick. Deadlocked V3. Okay, let's go. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. See what this crap's all about. See if this level's trash or not. I'm trying to focus. CVF is on. Why is this level? It sucks. Okay, fine. I'll play the whole level. Let's see what's up. I mean, it's all just memory, bro. Typical 2.0 shit right here. I think I have to play this. Like, I have to do this every time I play GD now, because that's just gonna be happening. It can't happen like any other time. No, that's not it. Oh my fucking god, that's not me. It's this one.
Good to see you, sir.
Great to be back, thank you.
So we were just talking about this wild crime spree that happened this weekend in Austin. So it seems like was it teenagers that were doing this? Yeah? You're not on the microphone. 15 and 17 years old? What was the purpose? Just going crazy?
They shot at like 10 different locations.
One person's
Is that a YouTube group?
They shot multiple people.
Yeah.
So you were saying that the reason why they had a hard time catching them is because of they had flock cameras in Austin,
Yeah.
but then they shut those cameras off for political reasons.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
So please explain that.
Yeah. So these guys are driving around in cars, and yeah, they're switching cars, whatever. Yeah, and they went to like a dozen locations, and like tried shooting at buildings and people and houses and all kinds of stuff. And so, okay, so these guys running around. So there's this system called Flock, which is one of our companies, and what they do is kind of like in the movies. You take all the municipal cameras and traffic cameras and everything, and you feed them into the AI, and the AI is able to first find the license plate in real time, so you can find that. But second, you can actually find a car even if you don't have a license plate. You can find like distinct markings, it'll on the car, it'll track the car. And so this thing is deployed. It's sold to city governments. It's used all over the country. It solves crimes every day. We get reports on carjackings with kids in the backseat and lives with safe. They track them down. So a lot of towns and cities have this, and they love it. In cities like Austin, with the intense politics, they run into backlash on privacy and surveillance concerns. So Austin had Flock and then turned it off. And as a consequence, they were not able to find these guys for several days. And then what happened, the late-breaking news today is these guys drove into some adjacent town up against Austin, and Flock was live in that town, and so Flock tagged them the minute they drove into that town. Subsequent to that, the mayor, your mayor in Austin, your mayor and your chief of police gave a press conference and said, we really need to rethink this, because it's crazy to have the ability to solve crimes and stop crimes and not be able to use it.
Yeah, so the concern is mass surveillance, right? The concern is that someone's going to abuse this and use AI for nefarious purposes, right? Like what nefarious purposes would that be?
Yeah, so this is a system that could be used in bad ways, right? So bad people could use it in bad ways. And so if you had a corrupt, chief of police, if you had some personal entitlement thing, you wanted to track them, X, whatever. whatever, or if you, the mayor, wanted to do this to terrorize your political things or whatever. Like, if you have, corrupt city officials, then they could use it for bad things. But
wouldn't that be traceable though? Like, wouldn't that, like, isn't there like a blockchain? Put that sucker, so it's not. I need to push it forward a little bit. Yeah. Is there a blockchain for Flock so you could know who's doing what and how it's happening, so someone couldn't abuse it? Is it possible to have circumvent that?
yeah, it could. But no, this is like the standard. Yes, and this, they log everything, and I'm sure there's records of everything. But like, it's like anything else. It's why cops have to
Fine,
warrant
because they
for
found it.
house, right?
Right.
There's always the question of like, what is the legal authority, and what are the safeguards to protect this kind of thing. But so I think there's a completely legitimate question, which is how should that all be designed? What should be the controls? What should be the penalties if somebody abuses it? But there's all that. But then on the other side of it, it's like, are you really going to give up the entire thing?
Right.
And disarm yourself in the face of what's been a big national crime wave for a long time. So the other thing is, so the city of Chicago is the one that's pushed this even further. So there's an older system that's deployed in many cities called ShotSpotter. What's it called? It's called ShotSpotter.
ShotSpotter?
ShotSpotter.
Shot spotter. Oh, shot spotter.
Shot
Like
spotter.
spot
It's
someone
spot,
shooting.
Spot somebody
Got it.
shooting.
Sounds
and
very German. Shot spotter. Sounds very like
several
very Nazi.
several umlauts on top. So ShotSpotter is an older system that works very well. It's deployed in many cities, and what it is, totally different system. What it is they put these precision microphones on top of the rooftops all over the city, and then when a gunshot goes off, they're able to instantly triangulate that a gunshot has gone off and specifically where the gunshot went off. This has two big benefits. Benefit number one is you have a better chance of catching the perpetrator because you can instantly respond to the gunshot. You don't have to wait for somebody to call it in, or if somebody calls it in. Number two, if somebody's been shot and they're bleeding in the street, you can immediately roll the ambulance to location, and you can save lives. And so historically, it's considered a double win. Chicago got so wrapped up on these political issues that they also, not only do they not have Flock, they also turned off their ShotSpotter system voluntarily. And so people now get shot in Chicago and they bleed out in the street. And nobody cares.
And what is the argument that they make?
That it is. So I would say there's maybe two arguments. There's the civil libertarian argument, which is all around surveillance and abuse and control and all these things. And like I say, I think that's a very legitimate argument. And then I would say there's like the woke argument, right, which is that the argument goes the American criminal justice system is clearly biased in favor of some demographic groups and against other demographic groups. And if you have automated systems like ShotSpotter or Flock, but the same thing comes up with like traffic cameras that automatically give out speeding tickets, that those will disproportionately affect disadvantaged people in society and disadvantaged groups, and so therefore they are racist. They are racist technologies enforcing a racist system. The problem with that argument is the victims of violent crime are disproportionately also likely to be from those same disadvantaged groups. And so,
woke politics are really fun.
yes,
The other problem with a lot of this is there's a large chunk of people that are going to immediately think that even this mass shooting was organized by Flock, so that Flock could get reinstated in Austin to bring in the surveillance state. Like this, I guarantee you, 100%. There's a group of people listening to this right now saying, "Oh, Andreessen's a shill. Rogan's shilling for Flock. This is what they're doing. They're trying to get to the mass surveillance." This is automatically when there's a situation like this, any kind of a mass shooting, people think it's a false flag. This is where we're at. How Chicago organizers managed to rid the city of ShotSpotter. Controversial police surveillance tech is often inaccurate, according to research that allowed activists to launch a fact-based campaign and a political model for organizers in other cities. Aha! So they're saying it's inaccurate.
so what it is, and to be fair to it, what it is, directional microphones, right?
Right.
This
So
level
it's-
is ass! Oh my fucking god!
I
It's
don't,
also bouncing off buildings, right? So
Sure.
there's a lot of echo, and
I'm sure you get that effect.
but
Nevertheless,
at least you know when a shot went off.
the shot went off. It went off in this general area. I would assume we're not involved in ShotSpotter. I don't know for sure. I would assume at this point it's probably down to it's probably pretty accurate at the level of a block, a street. It's probably generally quite accurate beyond that. Right. So it's exactly right. I mean, I think exactly what you said, which is like, okay,
At least you know a shot went off.
A shot went
And if you had both of those things, Flock and ShotSpotter, 88.72% of incidents flagged by ShotSpotter ended with police finding no incidents of gun crime. Okay,
But think about
right.
that doesn't mean
Yeah.
the gun testing wrong.
Exactly. That doesn't mean anything. Rarely produce evidence of a gun-related crime. That also doesn't mean anything because it just shows that a gun went off. If you have, first of all, Chicago is one of the absolute worst places in the country in terms of gun violence. Correct?
Yes.
I mean, there's constant shootings going on in Chicago.
Yes. And an enormous death every weekend. An enormous death toll.
And people are very accustomed to guns going off. Not only that, people are very accustomed to shooting guns. If people are accustomed to guns going off, that must mean that people are shooting those guns and they're getting very accustomed to doing that. So then you've got people that shoot people and then get in a car and drive away. And then the cops come, there's no evidence. That means nothing. One of the things that we've learned when you deal with politicians in particular that want to talk about crime statistics, like crime
What the
is
fuck
down.
is this level?
Incorrect. Crime reporting is down.
Right. We have this.
And especially in Los Angeles. My friends in Los Angeles who still live there, who deal with break-ins and home invasions and cars being robbed, they read those statistics or they hear a politician saying that crime is down. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? No one calls 911 because if you do, you just get put on hold. It lasts forever. No one comes. They do come. It's hours late. No one's coming to save you. No one calls. They just accept it. San Francisco is the worst. People leave their car doors open. They leave the hatch open on their cars to let you know there's nothing in there. Please don't break my windows. My car is here. Oh, crime is down. No, it's not down. No, crime is more prevalent than ever before. It's just crime reporting is useless.
Well, yeah. Look, if you know that you're not going to, you back up from what happens in the system. If you know the criminals aren't going to get convicted, then you know they're not going to get prosecuted. If they're not going to get prosecuted, they're not going to get arrested. If they're not going to get arrested, they're not going to get arrested.
Yeah.
And this. I mean, I live.
What is
I
this
live half time in
garbage
San Francisco
level?
and half time in LA.
Oh boy.
Everything you said is 100% true. But the other scandal, by the way, just kind of also came out, I think, last week, was Washington, D.C. has been, they got caught, the police got caught taking the crime statistics.
Yes. This is very important.
Yeah, just like overtly up to senior levels of the Washington, D.C. Police Department. And a whole bunch of people got, fired, indicted.
Right. This is very recent.
And just like flat out taking the numbers. And it's like anything, it's like anything else, which is if you, there's an old thing, which is if you measure it as no longer a good incentive, it's no longer good motivation, because it's just it's like grade inflation in school. It's just
What the fuck? Why do I keep lagging when I die? What the fuck is
and
this?
so in Washington, at least, they were criminally bunking with the numbers. It raises the question whether that's happening in these other cities.
Well, also, Washington, didn't the mayor actually thank Trump for bringing in the National Guard? Which is crazy. You have a Democrat mayor who said thank you to Donald Trump for bringing in the National, which everybody thought was an outrage. Oh my God, you're bringing the National Guard into the cities, you're going to militarize the police force. She said thank you, because crime dropped off a cliff.
So I've also been spending a lot of time in D.C. So what was happening in D.C., so my friends in D.C. basically say they turned the city from a place where you couldn't be outside at night, all of a sudden you could just walk around and it's fine. And then what happened is, like, the violence basically went to zero, like in most of the neighborhoods, like extremely quickly. So what happened was you have all these people walking around at night for the first time in years, and, they're just like, oh, there's a couple guys in National Guard, this is great, go over, take a picture of it, this is fantastic. Okay, so then it gets reported in the press as the National Guard's not doing anything. All they're doing is sitting around taking selfies with tourists.
Oh, God, I hate the press.
They don't need to be here. They're not doing anything, right?
Why would someone report that? But can't we just come to an agreement that crime is bad?
Yes.
Regardless of political party, can't we agree that we all want to be safe?
Well, let me give you one more. I'll give you one more thing, and we move off this. So the other thing you mentioned is the drive-by shootings. The guy drives away. There's no evidence of crime. The other thing, if you talk to cops who work in high crime areas or people who live in high crime areas, which I have in both cases, a lot of people in high crime areas do not want to ever.
These duels, they just don't work. They just don't fucking work.
Don't get stitches. They get morgues.
100%.
Yeah.
And so if you're relying on eyewitness reports, you don't solve crimes.
Right.
And so you need objective data.
So if you're a criminal, it's a pretty awesome environment.
It's great. And by the way, LA, I'm sorry, again, like LA has been the absolute ground zero for this kind of behavior. I mean, the gangs in LA have been going wild for the last month. It's just completely
What the fuck?
I just don't understand why anybody would want that. Do you ever put your tinfoil hat on and going, what are they trying to do here?
So
Because I know you wear a tinfoil hat every now and then. We talked about nuclear bombs.
we did. That's exactly the now well-known fact that all the nuclear tests are left. That's all Scott. So I mean, look,
I don't think they got faked.
I know. You're a believer in the official story.
A little bit.
Yeah. You believe what Wikipedia says. So you're business for. I look. Yeah, one wonders if there's a political motivation, right? Which is basically to get the responsible people out of the city to be able to change the voting patterns, right? And so,
God, that's so insidious.
yeah. And so you wonder, you look at these programs over time and kind of as the populations of the major cities have shifted radically in the last 50 years. They have very little in common with the population distributions they had 50 years ago. And so you wonder how much of it is misogyny and what it is.
God, that's so crazy to think that people would be willing to sacrifice the safety of their residents that are bringing in the majority of the tax revenue, by the way, so that they could somehow or another make it so that they could stay in power forever. I mean, and then get money out, presumably from the state, right? Like, which is how New York City got bailed out, which is a hilarious story. They balanced the budget.
Right.
Oh, congratulations, Mom Donnie's a genius. He figured it out. Socialism works. He balanced the budget. And then you realize they got $4 billion from the state so they can balance that budget. So all these folks that are living in small towns with no crime and living in rural, like West New York, and like, they had a pay.
100%. And then, by the way, the states get bailed out.
Right.
By the feds.
Federally.
Right.
So fun.
It is very fun. So I just came from New York, and so New York has their own version of this now with their new mayor. And the big controversy there last week was their mayor did a video standing in front of somebody's home.
Yes.
Calling him out by name.
Ken Griffin.
Who's
a very wealthy guy who brings a lot of jobs to New York City and was in the middle of a huge project. It's a $6 billion project, and now is considering tanking it.
Yeah, he's I think he spoke last week at a conference. And, all but said he's going to. He didn't say he's going to pull entirely out, but he said he's going to move much more of the business to Florida. But the other significant is Ken is a major philanthropist. Ken has donated hundreds of millions of dollars, particularly to healthcare in New York City, on top of being a major taxpayer, as far as the tax revenue, on top of being a major employer. And so the new mayor has deliberately targeted him personally to try to pull some out.
Why?
Yeah.
Do you think that's why he's doing it, or do you think he's doing it because that appeals to his base? Because there's these eat the rich people.
Yeah. But it's kind of the same.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I would give people benefit of the doubt. I would assume they believe everything they say, and they feel very strongly about it. I would believe that they also have a political incentive, because if you get somebody who's going to oppose you out of the city, that's good.
The top 1% of New York, aren't they responsible for 50% of the tax base?
Yeah, on that order, yeah.
Something in the range.
Also roughly the case in California in the year 2000. 1,000 individuals were 50% of the tax revenue. Was the all-time peak, but I think it's roughly 1% tax versus 50% of the tax receipts. And so one could imagine a position that says, wow, we want these businesses to work, we want to generate all the tax revenue, we want to pay for all the programs.
Yeah.
One could also imagine a somewhat more, let's say, YOLO approach, which is to drive out the revenue. And then probably presumably count bailouts.
I just don't understand why. I guess people that are not playing a long game, they're only thinking of their own political careers and staying in power, that they wouldn't care.
Yeah, I think there's that. And then I think obviously there's a lot of opportunism. And then the other thing is I think you have a lot of people, a lot of people in politics have not run a business. They haven't made a big role.
Right.
They don't have any, what we would consider to be real world experience. And so the idea of business is somewhat alien to a lot of people.
I'm not a businessman, although I kind of am.
You are.
I kind of am, in some weird way. I've become a businessman.
Yeah.
But this idea that it's easy to become a billionaire, and that these billionaires somehow or another are the problem because they're not paying their fair share, is so weird that's a narrative that actually gets pushed through when you look at the actual numbers of the tax base and how much they contribute and how many jobs they provide. And yeah, they make more money than everybody else, right? You could do that too. It's like, this is one of the things that America is really good at. You can come from nothing and become incredibly wealthy if you figure something out and go. And we just assume that everybody who makes an incredible amount of money stole it that they robbed someone, that someone, the only, like this is a narrative that gets pushed along democratic socialists, that no one achieved that. I think I literally heard AOC say this recently, that no one achieves substantial wealth without somehow or another victimizing other people.
And then Jeff Bezos is the obvious counterexample, which is like every time you do the one click and everything gets delivered to you 2 hours later at the cheapest possible price. Saving you and your family a lot of time and money.
But at the expense of small mom and pop stores, allegedly.
Although a lot of them sell on Amazon, a lot of small businesses sell on Amazon. No, look, 100%. The other thing you can do is you can compare and contrast with other countries that have more draconian policies in the direction that those folks are suggesting. So Europe in particular, many European countries have a much more draconian, are much even more hostile to business, and the result is they are much poorer. Their slower growth are actually shrinking. The people there are much less well off. There's much less funding for social programs, and so you can also do the cross-country comparison, which I think kind of gets at the game.
That's the weird thing about the whole socialism thing. Is it's never worked ever, and they just go, "Well, it hasn't been done right." But it's crazy that works.
Right.
And is that a failing of our education system? Is that a failing of the media explaining things to people in a way that makes sense? Or is it just that people feel so helpless that they're making, just enough barely to get by, and they're living check to check, and they see these people in yachts and they see these people in private jets, and they say, they must have stolen this. This is impossible to achieve this kind of wealth. Somehow or another, the system is wrong. Wealth inequality.
So I think there's two moral definitions of fairness. There's the definition of fairness, which is you get out of something what you put into it, right? Proportional. If I work twice as hard as you do, I get twice as much. And by the way, that could be, if we're in a race together and I run twice as far, I get to eat twice as much I at the end of the race. Like anything like that, I put in my effort, I get more results. The other version of fairness is everybody gets an equal slice.
Yeah, the equality of outcomes.
And those both feel correct. Like there's something, I think, in our wiring, in our brain wiring, those both feel like they're morally correct. They are in direct conflict with each other. And it's like...
I fucking hate this level. Oh my god! I want to kill this bitch. I want to kill the creator of this level. What the fuck?
Right. And again, it's not like the caricature is somebody's arguing then for like unrestrained libertarianism, whatever. And it's like, no, like these are all social democracies.
What the fuck?
There's always going to be a progressive tax system. There's always, you have to have business success in order to fund all the social programs. That makes sense. And really, very few people argue against that anymore.
Right, it does make sense.
Right, it does make sense. But there is this fundamental question underneath that, which is the level of degree to which you buy into that first definition of fairness, what you put in, what you get out, versus that second definition, which is everybody getting the same amount.
Well, the problem with the equality of outcome is it's not an equality of effort.
That's right.
And this is the beautiful thing about America, is that you really can just work 20 hours a day and achieve something spectacular. And the idea that you working 20 hours a day like a fucking maniac, literally wasting your health away, that you should get the exact same amount of money as someone who barely works. Just kind of shows up, does the bare minimum, leaves 5 minutes early, and that this person should achieve the same result as you. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, it's sort of like anybody who's ever, the teachers say one thing, anybody who's ever been in a class project with other students,
yeah,
you immediately observe.
Yes.
There are certain people who stand up and like lead the way, and there are certain people that like sit back and do right.
Right.
There's no whole story when after the Soviet Union collapsed, reporters went in and tried to figure out what had happened. Somebody about like what it was like to work in a socialist factory. And the line that the guy said was, "Oh, well, we pretended to work and they pretended to pay us."
Right.
If you're getting the thing, regardless, everybody's guaranteed equal outcomes. If you're getting the thing, regardless,
you kill motivation, and motivation is everything for people achieving things. Yeah. No one achieves anything spectacular without some sort of motivation that's going to get them a result that's a reward for all their hard effort. If you really thought you were just working for the sake of the people, like, no one's doing that. That's not human nature. And this is the problem with the concept of socialism, is that it punishes high achievers and it rewards laziness. And that's not to say that everyone who's poor is lazy. And there's a lot of people that are poor because of circumstances beyond their control. They're poor because of all sorts of conditions that they really had no say in. It's that a bunch of things happened to them. But the game is, there's an opportunity if you figure it out to get out of that situation in this world. And you can get out of that situation. There's so many stories. These rags to riches stories, which is, you don't get that in the caste system, right? You don't get that in socialism. You don't get that. There's a lot of places where that doesn't happen. In America, that is still a possibility.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more you punish that, you're actually punishing the real concept of the American dream. Now, I'm not saying that you should work 20 hours a day and become a sociopath and get on Adderall and just only try to achieve financial wealth. And there are people like that. You know them, right?
Of course.
I'm sure. Yeah. You travel in those circles. Yes. But you get lumped into those people even though you're not that person at all because you're extremely wealthy.
I cap it at 18 hours a day.
Cap it at 18?
18, yeah.
Is that really what you work? Do you really work 18 hours a day?
No, I don't. Not quite.
But you have to work a lot.
You work a lot. You work a lot.
How many businesses are you involved in?
A lot.
At any given time?
I mean, our firm is over 1,000. So, yes.
God.
Something tells me you would not enjoy that as much.
No. I wake up every day going, should I be doing less?
Yes.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of recreational things that I'm obsessed with that don't pay me any money, but I really enjoy.
Yes.
So I'm always like, maybe I just fucking do that. You know. But the point is, choice, freedom. You should be able to do whatever you want. And if you want to be some psycho that works 18 hours a day and makes an insane amount of money, the benefit of that to the tax base is massive.
Yeah. The societies that don't have that are much poorer. Everybody's poor. Their entire European countries, their entire European countries where they rank below our 50th ranked state.
Yes.
That we consider to be fully developed.
I was going to bring that up.
Modern countries.
Yeah, like Mississippi.
And their per capita income is lower than all 50 of our states.
Right.
And it's hard even. It's like congratulations. Like, is that going well? Are you happy with the outcome? And you have that conversation. I had this conversation with folks over there, and they would the conclusion that would be more of the things with the outcome.
My buddy Ari Matty, hilarious comedian, is from Estonia.
Yeah. And
he has friends in Estonia that have university degrees that choose to work in shoe sales. Because if you make more than $60,000 a year, your taxes are so high, it actually benefits you to make less money. And so they just give up. And they just exist, and that's why we fled, and why we came to America.
Yeah.
So those are the type of people that are the least accepting of any kind of socialism. They're the least charitable when people start talking about socialism. Talk to socialism about someone who fled Venezuela, or Cuba. They'll fucking stab you. They get angry and crazy because they know what the consequences are, the real world consequences are. And it's also one of the beautiful things about America. You can have these utopian ideas of the world, and you could get on college campuses and rant and rave, and no one arrests you.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say, look, we're in a time in which this kind of what you might call radical social politics is back. So that this is going to be a big thing. I bet it's going to be a big thing in the 28 election. It's going to be a big thing in the midterms. It's going to be a big thing. A lot of these cities and states. Some of these, the mayor of Seattle is very radical. The mayor of New York City is very radical.
The new mayor of Seattle's hilarious.
She's very radical.
It's kind of hilarious. She lived with her parents.
Yes.
Her parents supported her. She's in her 40s, never had a real job. And now she's running, how many billions of dollars is the economy of Seattle?
Yes, a lot. It's a huge.
And her response to rich people leaving, well, bye. Okay.
Now, having said that, I have enormous faith in the American people, and I think that the American people are not historically, when the American people have been given a choice, they haven't taken it.
I think they have to see the results, right? They have to see it fall apart. But the problem is, once things fall apart, it takes so much longer to bring them back than it does for them to fall apart. Like Los Angeles, for instance. Los Angeles, like you said, fell apart in like 5 years. I mean, for me, it was leaving in 2020. I was like, I saw the writing on the wall. I'm like, I see where this is going, and I know that things don't get better quick. If they get better at all. This is not going to get better, this is going to get worse. And it's headed in that direction. And if someone came in with sweeping change and pulled up all the encampments and cleaned up all the streets and made things safe again and actually started prosecuting crime and It would take so long to fix it.
Yeah, but you know, we'll see what happens. So the new, I will say this, the new DA and the new district attorney is much better.
Well, that's great.
And then Mr. Spencer Pratt.
Is that who you have your chips on?
I would just say, like, his sudden rise has to be pretty much.
It's kind of fun.
It's incredible to watch.
Yeah.
He is doing such a good job.
And he's got really good ideas. And people are saying, well, who is this reality star? Why should he, like... What about the other people? What about them? What is so great about their ability to lead that makes you think that they're going to be extraordinary choices above and beyond what Spencer Pratt's capable of doing? What are you talking about?
I was, we have a home down there. We fortunately didn't lose our home, but it was nerve-wracking for a while. And, everybody knows this now, but the city response was abysmal. The state response was terrible. And by the way, none of that has been fixed, as far as I know. Like, we're set up for the fire. So the fire was a year ago, a little more than a year ago. Took out twice the square mileage of the Nagasaki bomb. Obliterated. It just seemed like it destroyed the city of Palisades. It looks like a bomb. The cars were melted into the pavement.
Yeah, it's gone.
It was gone. And then Altadena, which is like a working class neighborhood, and then it took out like half of Malibu. And so, it was and it almost took out all of West LA.
This level fucking sucks.
Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Santa Monica, like it was all in line of fire. I don't think any of that's been fixed. I don't think there's any time to fix any of it. And so, Spencer's been through this the hard way, along with a lot of people in the city, which is they burn his house down. And
what is the response when Karen Bass is questioned about what are you going to do if this happens in the future?
Everything is remember the Lego movie? The song "Everything is Wonderful."
Yeah.
Everything is wonderful. Everything's amazing. There's a viral AI video, which is Spencer Pratt, one of his fans made, which is everything is awful. And it's in LA. It's like the Lego movie set in LA. It's like Lego junkies bleeding out of the street.
Oh, his AI video has been amazing.
Look, the Lego city.
Excuse me.
And so I think there's just an advanced level of denial. I don't think it came out today. I just saw the report today, but apparently the head of the LA Water Department, is a super high-paid, person. Apparently, according to information, was unaware that the sea reservoir was not full, didn't have water in it. But so the fire hydrants didn't have water in them.
Right.
So the police, the fire trucks would pull up and they would plug in. So it's a level of dereliction that is cosmic. And to your point, Spencer is articulating that in a way that shockingly, nobody else has been able to.
There's also talk about the Palisades, about them selling the land, about acquiring the land and selling the land. Like, what is going on with that?
It's nuts. So I don't know all the details. Like, right out of the gate, there was a state ban on quote-unquote predatory land sales, predatory offers. And so there was a ban, the state put in place a ban on...
I don't think I'm getting that coin. I am not getting that coin at all.
Which included the value of the house and the land. And so they chilled because a lot of property owners. So you lose your house in LA. Okay, so you lose your house in LA. By the way, it's been almost impossible, and I think for a lot of people, actually impossible to fire insurance in LA for years because of all these issues. Because insurance companies aren't stupid; they don't want to be left holding the bag.
Right.
And so there's a lot of people whose houses burned down. And their first thought was, "Screw it, I'm out of here. Right? I'm just gonna sell the land. I'm gonna go someplace sane." And then all of a sudden the state moved in and basically said you can't. They didn't say you can't sell your house. They said people can't bid on your house. Your now destroyed house is below its previous value.
So the previous value, so if you had a $10 million mansion on a lot in the Palisades, it's worth $15 million while it was there, and you say, I'll sell it to you for $5, you can't do that.
You can sell it. The prohibition was on offers.
What?
The prohibition was, I don't know the exact, I remember the exact details. So the prohibition was, because immediately there were people.
Oh, damn.
Speculators,
right?
Investors, right? Who immediately came in and they're like, "Oh, this is prime land, and
right.
Surely at some point the city will be governed eventually. We're gonna buy up all these lots, we're gonna build houses, and we'll make money." And so the state immediately stepped in to make sure that didn't happen by preventing the offers.
Nice.
That's one. Step two is it was almost impossible to get a permit to build anything before this. It's certainly harder now.
Oh,
How
no.
many houses have been rebuilt?
It rounds to zero. Effectively. I mean, we're talking, I don't know, up to.
Oh no, I can full-fledged that. Okay.
For the rebuild. maybe. And by the way, maybe never in a lot of places.
15 years for individual homes, or 15 years for all of the homes?
15 years all in. Like I haven't seen any prediction of less than 15 years to rebuild everything. And any individual home could be 5 years, 8 years, 10 years.
Why so long?
Because it's almost impossible. The cities almost never. It's almost impossible to get permits to do anything these days. On a good day, they don't let you reach. They don't let you build things.
Why?
Because of the local politics of not ever changing anything. And everything's historic, or everything is this or that. Or if you rebuild it, the other thing they do is if you want to rebuild something, you have to do some other trade. And so this is the other thing that's kicked in is now the politics of what they call affordable housing, which is government housing. So now there's demands that a certain percentage of the community be willing to build the housing projects.
Fucking swear to God, I will kill this level.
And then on top of that, there's all the logistics of actually building anything, which is there's only so many general contractors get around to be able to do it.
How many thousand homes were?
Many, I don't know the exact number, many thousands. I mean, for people who haven't, by the way, experienced this, there's this really good movie on Amazon called Crime 101. It just came out with Chris Hemsworth. It's a great LA crime caper. It was filmed in Pacific Palisades right before the fire. And so you watch this, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous movie. And you watch this movie, and if you're in LA, you're just, it's hard to not literally tear up seeing, because that's just gone. Yeah. It's all totally gone. So you can get a sense of the devastation. Just imagine everything in that movie got destroyed. And so it's completely it's completely smelled up. And I don't know what this you're back to the age old thing. It's a single party state. Spencer Kress running as Republican. The voters have a choice. A lot of people whose houses burned down, they're not coming back. And again, this goes back to the thing. I don't think that, we now know who the fire was set by this crazy guy who had his own political agenda.
Right.
But
who was a fan of Luigi.
It was Luigi terrorism. We now believe that based on the reporting on the and so I think that was likely to go cause. But you do wonder politically if a side effect of this is we get responsible homeowners out of the city permanently to change the voting composition. So, you can probably explain the dysfunction without that, but you do wonder if that's a motivation. Yeah, so we'll see. Maybe I should also say, because I can do this for hours, beat up in California. California is also the most spectacular place on earth. It's amazing. I mean, it's a natural wonderland, and then on top of that, we have two of the great global industries, and culture in LA and tech in Silicon Valley. We have but apparently infinite pressure of money coming out of these two industries that can fund both amazing things and horrible things.
But aren't both of those industries kind of leaking out of LA right now?
So LA. So my understanding is there's less film and television production happening in LA than there was during the last strikes, and so it's become almost impossible to shoot anything in LA. And many of the great movies and TV shows in history, of course, were shot in LA. It's really big studios built there lots. The whole point of being there, that's almost all gone. So the local economy's just been destroyed, completely independent of the fire.
Right.
It's been destroyed by basically the crushing of the production side of it. And so LA was already reeling from that, and that continues to be a big problem. And then there's this state, there's this new tax, this new ballot proposition for an asset tax. The number of people in Silicon Valley who are leaving the state is quite large. And I would say it was a trickle, and now it's a stream, and it's becoming a flood. And I know a lot of people who live in the state because they feel like their assets are going to get seized.
And let's explain this asset tax, because it's people are thinking it's just as simple as you get an additional X amount of percentage of your income, but it's not. It's unrealized income as well.
So there's lots of
unrealized gains.
Yeah, so there's lots of different kinds of taxes that one can have, and there's the obvious one, sales tax when you buy or sell something. There's property tax based on you paying property tax on property you own. There's all these theories in this. There's tariffs, which are taxes on international transactions. So you have to get tax revenue somewhere, and you can decide from one of these taxes. Historically, the U.S. didn't. In the old days, the U.S. didn't have an income tax, and then the income tax was introduced about 100 years ago. And it was a big deal at the time. It was a big deal. Just like, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting a salary. I'm getting paid at the time, whatever it was, $100 a month, and you're going to take, you're going to take a percentage of my income, the money that I earned. And so that was very controversial. It started out, if I remember properly, it was like a 3% tax only on rich people. But what happens is they got the mechanism in place, and then before you know it, 30 years later, it's 50% tax rates, and then by the 1950s, the market tax rates on high were up in the 90s. Right, and so it was a very big deal to be able to get the ability to seize a percentage of somebody's income. But we're all used to that now, and so we all pay federal income tax in California. We pay state income tax. We pay local income tax. I mean, my income tax rate's something like 60%, maybe at this point 62 or 63% all in.
You're not paying your fair share.
Exactly. It ought to be 99 clearly, if not 100. But we're all used to income tax. Okay, so park that for a moment. Then there's this concept of an asset tax.
Right.
And so in various terms, asset tax, wealth tax, or you might think of it as a property tax that applies to everything you own.
Right.
So not just the land that your house is on, but everything.
Car collection, art collection,
all the stuff on the walls, all your
Yeah.
clothes, all your jewelry, all your everything. That's like the whole thing.
It's also stocks, right?
Stocks, bonds, yes, everything, crypto.
How did this get proposed? How is it possible that someone proposed something this insane?
So this idea's been running around for a while. By the way, there are other countries that have done this with disastrous results because all of the people with any level of assets flee the country. So Europe has been through this multiple times, and we don't pay attention to that. But there's case studies in that. It's worked out poorly every time. It's been kicking around for a while. It almost passed. There was almost a federal wealth tax, asset tax in 2022. Almost passed, but didn't pass. And then the Biden administration said in the 2024 fiscal plan, in 25, they said they were going to come back and do a federal wealth tax, asset tax in 25 if they had gotten reelected. And then now in California, there's a ballot proposition that a specific union has put on the ballot specifically for itself. Politics are weird because it's a bad ballot proposition because it's one union where all the money just goes to it and its causes, and so it's a weird one. But this is the first of what's going to be a flood of these. And so and again, you can imagine the story. The ballot proposition is it's a one-time tax, 5% of assets for people with a net worth above some level, and then that level kind of moves around depending on who's talking about it. And by the way, depending on what's included and what's not included. And so I think in the current proposition, for example, they exclude property, they exclude like real estate. And I think they did that.
But stocks and bonds.
But stocks and bonds would be included. And so if you are above a certain, and it's starting out with a high threshold on wealth. And so today, just like the original income tax, on day one it doesn't hit anybody. And then it's a 5%, and of course the argument is these people make 5% a year anyway, and so they're more than that, so they'll make up for it, and then they say it's a one-time tax. But we know from the history of the income tax that this is how it starts, and then we know where it goes.
Right.
And then you smash cut, in the movie you smash cut 10 years later, and everybody's getting carried with it, and people are losing their houses because they can't. It's just you can't. Okay, so let me give you the twist on this in California. The twist on this is it's a specific punitive strike aimed at tech founders and tech companies. And so they have the calculation of the value that you owe is based on the greater of your economic interest in your company or your voting interest in your company. And so if you are the Google founders, as an example, you have what's called super voting stock, right? Because you want the company to have a long-term outlook and you want the founders to stay in charge. And so let's say, I'm making numbers up, let's say the Google founders own 3% of the economic value of the company, but they have 15% of the control value, or say 55% of the control value of the company. The tax gets calculated based on the higher of those two numbers. And so for founders in the Valley, particularly private companies, but also public companies where they have control stock, if this tax passes, they instantly go. But they can't possibly pay the tax because their tax bill, by definition, is a multiple on top of their assets. And so this is on the ballot proposition. We just filled out our ballot at home. This is happening right now. This is the first of these. There will be, I am positive, a dozen more of these the next time we get to California. I'm positive that this will arrive in every blue state that has any sort of ballot proposition, saying where you put things directly on the ballot. I'm positive this is going to get proposed in every other blue state within the next few years. It's the obvious thing to do. And then I
do something like that, I guess.
This is going to be a big campaign platform issue for the 2020 election at the federal level.
And isn't it also set up that they can completely move the goalposts for what is the threshold that you would get taxed at? So if it's $1 billion now, it could be $500,000.
Don't even get
once
that
it's in, they just patch the law.
I hate
And
this.
they
Don't even get any coin.
So California is a Democratic supermajority in both houses of both the House and the Senate in California, and a Democratic governor, and of course the judges are Democrats. And so the Democrats can pass anything they want. And so they get into the force of law from the ballot proposition and they modify it as they see fit.
So it's a Trojan horse for a lot of these people that are like, yeah, fuck the billionaires. Like, what about the thousandaires, buddy?
100%. Well,
Yeah.
this is the classic thing where Bernie's stump speech used to be on against the billionaires and millionaires until he became a millionaire. And all this
Right.
stump speeches. Right. So this is that. Okay. So a lot of people have gone to our governor and said, this is going to be very bad news for the state. And so Gavin, to his credit, says, yes, I agree, this is very bad news for the state because if you're in California, you can easily go to Nevada or Texas or.
Can he veto it?
No, he can't veto it because it's a proposition, not a law. So there's no veto power. However, what he's doing is he's sort of signaling, indicating in the statement that basically his position, running for president, we all believe what his position is going to be is obviously you should do this at the state level, you should do this at the federal level. Because the problem with this tax at the state level is you can flee the state. You can't flee the country. But practically speaking, you can't flee the country. And so my expectation is that this is going to be a very good sort of leftist populist campaign measure on part of basically so an asset tax I think is kind of effective.
Unrealized gains, asset tax.
Important to understand, yes, this is unrealized gains. And so this is, in the fullness of time, as this expands, you own a small business. Your business. You own your business. You own your business sitting here. By the way, what's your business worth? Who knows?
Right.
Unless you have, active secondary transactions in your stock or you take your company public, who knows what your business is worth? And so the government is good on radical. The government appraiser is going to show up and decide what the business is worth.
Oh boy.
Yes. Guess what their incentive is? Right, to have it be as high as possible.
Right.
And so, and then they're going to and then do this. And then, by the way, they're going to look around and they're going to say, what other assets does he have? And they're going to go through your brokerage accounts. And they're going to go through your art collection. And then they're going to want to know what's in your safe. Jewelry in your safe. What's your jewelry in your safe? What? You go right down the rabbit hole. Nice guns you have. Are any of them antiques? We need to get those appraised.
Straight up communism.
Yeah, and so and that's actually a whole separate argument against this is the level of invasiveness on the part of the government to be able to actually figure out what your assets are. And of course, what's going to happen is every person with any level assets is going to do anything they can to hide, right?
Right.
And so you're going to try to do whatever level of shuffling.
And then you're going to be looked at as a criminal trying to evade paying your fair share, especially by the proletariat.
100%. Right, exactly. And you can never, it's a little bit, it's a funny thing in the current tax system that you have this thing where you estimate what you owe in taxes and you send it to the IRS and they'll tell you what they think you're right or wrong. They don't tell you what you owe, right? They leave it to you to fill out your tax return to estimate what you think you owe and then they judge you on it. But at least with income, it's relatively straightforward because it's like I have a salary or I have, whatever, interest payments or whatever. For a wealth tax, asset tax, you're trying to judge the value of your assets. They're trying to judge the value of your assets. Third parties are trying to judge the value of your assets. Who knows what these things are worth?
Yeah.
Who knows? And so as a consequence, it slides towards a very totalitarian outcome, which is, how do you prove that you're not guilty? How do you prove that the thing on the wall is not worth twice what you say it is?
Right.
You can't.
Right.
Well, or the only way you could is you could liquidate it, right? Which you probably have to do
and
anyway.
it's worth what people say it's worth, not even what you paid for it.
Exactly.
Right? Because sometimes you buy something and then 10 years later it's worth way more.
Yeah.
So now you have to pay taxes on something that you paid a fraction of.
Yeah. Well, and then think about this compounding over time, right? So let's say it starts out as 5% one time, and then let's say it goes to 5% annually. Okay, so now you own a small business. So now they're coming and taking 5% every year.
The one-time thing is bullshit. Everybody knows it's bullshit.
Of course, right? Because of course they got immediately come
once they get addicted to getting that money, and then they have to balance that budget again.
Yeah, that's right. And so, and then just to do the math on the compounding. Let's say it stays at 5%. It's 5% every year for 10 years. What percentage of your business is gone after 10 years? They just chew it apart.
Where are you moving? Where are you moving to?
So, my partner Ben and his family have moved to Las Vegas. They are extremely happy.
Vegas is a good spot.
They are extraordinarily happy. I have a lot of friends coming in from Texas.
Good restaurants in Vegas.
They're very good restaurants in Vegas. Very wonderful place.
Good gun laws.
Yes, also that. A lot of outdoor.
You buy weed.
You can buy a lot. You can buy a lot of things in Vegas. Very, very entertaining place. A lot of people going to Florida. A lot of people going to Nashville. A lot of people going, all kinds of places. In Europe, what they do is they just go to another European country, right? So
Right.
they have all these tax data like Malta and these
Right.
crazy places that you can escape to. In the U.S., there's nothing like that. And if you try to leave I only have one friend who's ever left the U.S. and you have to pay an exit tax of like 45%. You have to pay an exit tax already today. You have to pay like 45% of all of your assets to small European taxpayer in the country. So that's why I'm not leaving. That's why they think. Well, and then you get to this, and so my answer is I'm not leaving the U.S. and furthermore I'm not leaving California. Having said that, you're
not leaving California.
I am not leaving California. Having said that, you do start to wonder, okay, if like half the tax base leaves, what happens to the other half, and then if these other taxes pass, what happens? And so, like, the situation is fraught. Like this is the single most activating thing I've seen happen in politics that most people in the Valley cranked up. And again, literally, it's not even so much the money; it's they see their ability to actually have a company destroyed. Can you start a tech company, work on it for 10 years, and still own any of it at the end of the process? And why would you do that? And so that's the thing in the Valley that's really harsh. And then the other side of it is like how many, if everybody else is leaving, do you want to be the last standing, and do you want to be the last remaining target?
Right.
And so the game theory on that is getting tricky. And so, like I said, I think we're definitely trickle the stream.
And what do you think is going to happen with this?
It's on the ballot.
What is your assumption?
The professionals are telling us it's basically a 50-50. So what the professionals tell us is that California is naturally prone to be in favor of this kind of thing because of the composition of the voter base. It's the same reason we have a Democratic supermajority in the legislature and so forth. Having said that, the American people, including Californians, don't like socialism. They don't like SSCers. And so this thing started out life polling at like 45 or 50%. What the pros say is for a proposition to pass, it needs to start up polling at like 60% because the initial poll is before there's been a counter campaign. And the counter campaign can almost always knock the... What the fuck is wrong with you? If this doesn't pass because the 50% goes to 40% and then doesn't pass. The counter argument to that is this is a big part of the nation, right? And this is a rolling thing, and all the narratives and all the issues that you're rolling around. And so I think it's 50-50. And then, by the way, there will be like the mother of all court challenges following this, because this is going to get litigated, and it's going to be all the specific. The number of people I know who are like figuring out all kinds of advanced maneuvers to try to figure out how to shield their assets is amazing. So there's going to be like all kinds of crazy stuff that happens from that. I don't know what happens, but I kind of think. I kind of think it's not even this. This one is not the issue. The issue is what follows this one, and so the issue is what all the other states and cities do. What else happens in California, and I think the big issue is well, by the way, Elizabeth Warren annual wealth tax, not the asset tax at the national level.
Unrealized gains.
Unrealized gains. 6%.
National level.
National level. And I believe that. And so that
she's such a goof.
So that's the opening gambit. A lot of a fair number of people in Washington signed up for that. Like I said, the Biden administration wanted to do this. They tried twice. So this is not crazy.
The Biden administration
they tried in 22 to do a federal asset tax. And for some reason, it was during COVID and all the craziness, and people weren't paying attention, but they tried, and they got it. And then they said in 24, in their official 25, they said they would do it in 25 if they had won re-election. And so...
Well, what would that do to businesses if they did it on a federal level?
Everything we've been talking, nice farm you have here. We're going to take 6% a year until it's all gone. Nice house you own.
Well, what's the end game, though? This is what doesn't make any sense.
Fairness.
Fairness? A complete dissolving of massive businesses is fairness? And then what happens? Where do you get your iPhone?
Well, what actually happens is everybody gets poor. What actually happens is everybody gets poor. That's
Good Lord.
Things are getting split. Sorry, I did not mean to come in here and be a little black rain.
Well, then also this problem that when people look at what's going on right now with the Republicans, the Iran war, which is extremely unpopular, very unpopular. I mean, what is it polling at now? It's something like low 30% of people think it's a good idea. So the Democrats come along, and they win in 2028, and then you have these ideas pushed forward because people want something different than what you have now, and then it just opens the door to this stuff.
I mean, this is playing out in the UK right now. So the UK government just blew up. So the Keir Starmer is the prime minister. He's a very, very sort of figure in this direction. He's got AOC on down and sort of that all this. He just blew up because of the Epstein scandal catalyzed it. He just blew up, and so he started stepping down. There are 4 candidates for UK prime minister to replace him. All of them are to be elected.
Oh boy!
And so so same thing's happening in France, same thing's happening in Germany. So there's something in the water pushing in this direction. Yeah.
So what can be done to counter this? I mean, you have obviously the narrative has to change. People have to understand what the ramifications of these things are, what the repercussions are.
Yeah, and then look, I think you have to, and again, this is where I have a lot. I'm still extremely optimistic about the U.S. specifically, and here's the reason: is because I would imagine anybody who's listening to this is like, there's two ways to listen to everything we're saying, which is these guys are out of touch. The other way to think about it is, I own a small business, I own a store, I own a farm. I want to leave something to my kids, and they're going to come and take it. And so I think that, inherently, that's a bad sales pitch. So I think as that becomes clearer, this just isn't, this isn't, because right now it's only California, and everybody just kind of thinks California's crazy, but I think as this becomes a national issue, my expectation would be people to look at it, and that clearly is the direction I want to see it. And then, like I said, and then as they think through the implications of okay, guess what? And then they come to the
do you think that things like this, that they have to get this bad before people get rational? That sometimes you need an enemy that's so obvious that people sort of unite and realize oh, this is not the direction we want things to be headed in. Let's figure this out in a better way.
I mean, that has happened a lot. I mean, that is a sustained pattern. I mean, each one you mentioned is
the fuck.
Do not hold any of these ideas because they've been through it, direct experience.
There's a little platform in there that is.
These are easier to kind of not think about hard if not right in your face. There's that. But again, like I said, it's just the U.S. has had look, 1948. 1944, the vice president of the United States almost became a guy named Henry Wallace, who was an actual communist. Who was actual communist. Actually in league with the Soviet Union, for real. And he almost became VP instead of Truman. He almost became president in 45, and he ran in 48. And didn't. So that was a great example of America had a choice. And by the way, that was after the Soviets were our allies during World War II, so they were not. They were actually quite popular. There had been, I think, a big parade with Joseph Stalin in New York City, not shortly before that, not long before that. And so, at least in 1948, they took a hard, American people took a hard look at it and said, no.
What the fuck? I keep landing there!
The amount of propaganda that people are subject to in 2026, though, is very different. And the social media propaganda is wild because people live in these echo chambers and they, especially go to Blue Sky. You want to think the world's falling apart? Go read what people's opinions are on Blue Sky. Jesus Christ, they're advocating murder for people that don't agree with what they believe. I mean, I saw after Charlie Kirk got killed, there was all these people that were do him next, do this next. This is horrific. Someone just got murdered. It's do someone next, do this person next. And no punishment, no banning, no taking it down. It's you've got these social media echo chambers that get people thinking that these are good ideas, and then there's no one around them that gives them a counter narrative. And anybody who does is fascist.
Now, the good, again, I'll try to do the bright spot. The good news of Blue Sky is they've self-isolated with Blue Sky.
How many people are on Blue Sky?
Do you know the concept? It's probably, I'm going to guess a couple million.
Even Jack, who created Blue Sky, is it's a fucking dumpster.
Yeah,
I'm out.
He's disowned it. So do you know the term? Heaven banning? Have you heard of this?
No.
This is an old term. Okay, this is an old term for people who run chat groups and forums online. Which is okay. You've got somebody in a chat group and they're being a pain in the butt. There's two things you can do. One is you can ban them from it and then make them mad. The other thing you can do is you can promote them to heaven, which is you just let them interact with bots that just agree with everything you say.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so you just let them, like, every day they have the best experience of their life because they're in heaven. They're saying every crazy thing, and they've got 30 people right there with them who are like, they're absolutely correct on everything.
Wow.
And so in the industry, the joke is that blue sky is real life heaven. It's all these people have ascended into their own private Idaho.
That's a good question about like how many people are on Blue Sky that's a bot.
Yeah.
Jamie and I were just having this conversation about how many of these conversations that we deal with political issues are bots.
Yeah, that's also true. There's a tremendous amount of bots, and then there's also, by the way, just payola is running crazy right now.
Payola how?
The influencers getting paid.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
And this is something I've been looking at recently. There's a legal loophole, which is you have to disclose political campaign finance laws. You have to disclose political contributions. If you're advertising a product, the FTC, you have to disclose that for consumer fraud.
I fucking hate this level. I fucking hate this level.
Even if you're getting paid to promote ideas.
If you're getting paid to promote
political ideas,
social ideas. Yeah, because it doesn't fall. It's not Canada and it's not a product. It's something else.
Why do I have to do this?
Because
Because it's somehow in the second page of most liked insane demons. People like this shit? Like, people genuinely deadass like this shit.
I think this is right. I think a lot of social media now.
People like this shit. People like this shit. People like this absolute utter shit. Really?
And obviously,
Really now. People like shit. I can't believe people like garbage, bro. I never thought garbage. I never took garbage.
That's why it's so
Actually, like, what the fuck?
Right, because it looks like
It's the gameplay.
And by the way, every once in a while,
miserable.
people will see this. Every once in a while, a campaign will roll out, and there will be 30 influencers of particular kinds that all kind of say the same thing, and some people do the screenshots, and they'll show up in mine. So sometimes they get, or sometimes people will accidentally cut and paste the solicitation. They'll cut and paste the text message in without removing the part that says, if you tweet this, I'll give you $5,000. And so every once in a while, it pops out like that. But
why?
The answer is generally you don't know. If your influencers are creative, you're not going to know.
So if you're one of those influencers, all of a sudden that becomes your living.
Yeah, that's right.
And a really good one.
100%. Totally.
If you're getting paid $5,000 to post something and you can post 20 things a day,
100%. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah. Now again, it's like, look, I mean, there have been, there have been sponsorships forever. There have been, campaigns forever. There's always been guerrilla marketing is the term that used to be used for marketing campaigns. For example, lots of brands hire college kids to go try to get their fans to use products. So there's always been payola. I use the term payola. The payola used in the old days was record labels paying radio stations to air music. Try to fabricate a new successful pop star like these days. That was called payola. That was actually banned decades ago. There have been lots. So in one sense, this is just a new version of that. On the other hand, this is a very difficult version of that because the assumptions are due for people.
But if you made that a law, you have to disclose whether or not you're being paid to espouse opinion. That would change everything.
I think so. Now, again, it's funny since you have to catch people.
Right, but if you made it a law, and then you could catch people, then people would go to jail.
You have to put some scout stuff. Also, I believe on X, I think, according to X's policies, I think you have to disclose if you're saying that there's a tag.
Really? Even for an idea?
I believe so. Again, though,
but it's not a law.
It's not a law, and again, there's a big enforcement problem.
Right.
And then, by the way, again, I'd say it's the influencer thing, and then it's also the bots. So the influencers and the bots go together. I think is the full picture because the bots show up and make the influencers look like they're more successful than they actually are.
Right.
And they're a tip off there you may have seen is you'll see these tweets or posts on whatever platform, and they'll have like 22,000 likes and they'll have like 15 replies. Right. It's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's not right.
Yeah.
But then again, it's evolving, and so now of course, you're going to get a lot of fabricated replies.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were just talking about that too. These crowdsourced campaigns that you can do, where you can hire a company, and that company can promote an idea, and they have all these accounts that just start pushing this idea. And it's very easy to do. You could attack a political candidate, you could go after this, go after that, promote this, promote that, and it's legal.
Now, the positive side of this, which is like, go back to Spencer Pratt, who, by the way, I've not met, haven't donated to, but he's using this, I think, in exactly the right way, right? His entire campaign exists because he's able to go viral on social media.
Right.
He didn't start out. I mean, he's literally a guy who's house burned. Like that's the guy, right? And he's able to, he's been able to go out with his message, and he can go out, he does that minute to minute, and then he does crazy fishing videos, and he's got all of his hamstring videos, and the whole it's all free. Like to him, it's all free. It's all zero. And out he goes. And so the fact that it's an unconstrained environment also lets people do it the right way. And so I think there is that side of it. And I think there's some balance here that has to be struck to contain the bad behavior, but also make sure the good behavior is still possible.
Right, because right now it's almost impossible to find out who's a bot or who's being paid. And you oftentimes see people commenting on different political issues in the United States, and you go look at their page, it says from Taiwan. Right. Like, oh, that's interesting, and that's a good thing that Elon did. But can't that be certain? Couldn't you monkey around with that and get around that somehow or another and make it look like you're in America with a VPN or something?
Yeah, that's right. You need a VPN for that. So it's a cat and mouse thing. But by the way, a lot of this happens frequently, both scams and these kind of bot campaigns in the country. And it may not even be an organized thing. It's just it's somebody who's getting paid.
Right.
It's just your information. Yeah, there are certain countries in that, there's a lot of that activity. Because, the country with a low, per capita GDP, this could be a very good job.
Right. And
so that's a challenge. Yeah. So this is what, the folks at the spend a lot of time on this.
do you go online? Do you fuck around and go on Twitter and read things?
All the time.
Do you really?
Half laptop.
How do you have the time to do that?
I mean, it's just. I mean, it's an incredible information source. Like everything we're doing is trying to keep up with development.
Right.
Trying to track, all these smart people.
So how do you separate the wheat from the chaff?
So there's two. So I go back and forth. So I use X and Substack. I use Instagram. I use a bunch of these things, but I spend a lot of time on X and Substack in particular. On X, both of which we're involved in. On X, I use both. So I let the algorithm do its work, but then I also keep the curated lists where I hand curate every person. And then I'm sort of semi-notorious on Twitter. I have a one tweet policy. I follow you based on one tweet, and I block you based on one tweet. And so for me, it's like a real life video game, or not like video game. I'm just like on your trigger.
Interesting.
And there are people, by the way, where I will follow them based on a tweet, and then block them based on a tweet, and then refollow them based on another tweet. So I saw one yesterday that says there's an increase in the Samsara circle of life on Twitter of how often you get blocked, unblocked, followed, unfollowed.
And what do you block people for?
Just being an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
I don't want to. Yeah, I just want to see it, which covers a lot of that behavior. But I mean, it's an incredible cross section of information. I mean, to me, we have this like incredible resource with social media feeds. We have this incredible resource now with talking to AIs. Information. And and there's I'm not a utopian, and there's downsides to both of those. And they can move in dysfunctional ways.
What percentage of it do you think?
For me, they're great.
What percentage of what you're interacting with online do you think are bots?
I think most of the people I follow at this point, I think most of the people I actively follow, like they're on my curated list. I think they're real people.
So how do you do this curated list? Do you use different software?
No, it's not just in the Twitter UI.
Okay, so you have like a list?
Yeah, I've got 3 different topics.
Okay. And so you just like go and check that and see what's going on with this list. That's smart. I don't do that.
Yeah, that works.
But I don't go on it anymore. It's just, to me, it's just got too much of a bummer.
Well, you have a different way of satisfying your curiosity.
Yeah. I mean, but it's also, when I go on, it's like I read so many things about me. I'm like, I don't want to read anything about me. So I don't go into my mentions, but then things about me are not even in my mentions, just in the regular feed. I'm like, I don't want to read that.
So I get that too. What I finally figured, and it used to bother me, what I finally figured out is you have to think of it like it's a Call of Duty lobby. When Call of Duty first came out, it was one of the first games that had lots of multiplayer games, and everybody was on their headsets with live audio for the first time. So you go and it's like 20 minutes.
This guy knows Paul.
You'd be like 12 minutes just cursing you out.
Right.
Just like calling you every fucking horrible thing they could think of, right? And just it's part of the art. Part of the art is just they're trying to psych out their opponents,
right?
And just be good. And so
part of the art.
If you view it of I'm entering the Call of Duty lobby, and it's like bring it. In theory, you can moderate your emotional response.
Oh, you could definitely moderate your emotional response, but I just choose to get my worldview from other places.
Understand? Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy for you. And I just see way too many comedians in particular, but I think other public figures as well, who become very mentally unwell by engaging in it all the time.
Okay, so my friends and I have a theory on this. We have a theory that there's two ways to live life right now. So you're either two online or you're two offline.
Interesting.
And those are the two choices.
Right, you have to find a comfortable medium.
But nobody ever does.
Right.
There's only the two. So two online is exactly what you're describing. And you get too wrapped up in the fads and this and that, and Twitter's not real life, and you get completely disconnected. And by the way, I think that's happening to lots of politicians. I think it's, as you say, it's happening to a lot of media figures. It's happening to a lot of people in my industry. But the other side, I also think there's two offline. Somebody once said the definition of a baby boomer is somebody who believes in television set.
That's a problem. Right. Yeah, the baby boomer problem is real.
Right. And so if you're not online enough, then you tend to believe, if you literally believe what's on the TV and the newspaper, that's another kind of problem.
Yeah, it is. If you're only getting mainstream media narratives,
yeah,
that's a giant issue.
That's right. And so, but I think the problem is, at least everybody I know, they're one or the other.
Right.
And they, by the way, and as a consequence, they live in two totally different worlds. Right. It's almost impossible for somebody who's two online to talk to somebody who's two offline and have a productive conversation, because the two offline person is really what they talk about.
Right.
But they lack all the context. The two online person is too wrapped around actual online.
Right.
And so I think that's actually a big part of what's happening in the culture, independent of like left versus right or independent of whatever. It's just simply it's two completely different media.
I always wonder, like, what is it going to look like in 20 years? Like, what is this going to be like? In 20 years seems like a long time, but it doesn't if you realize that 2006 was 20 years ago, which doesn't seem like that long ago. 2006 is like modern times.
It is. I think the next 20 years is going to change a lot over the last 20 years. I think AI is a lot.
I think so as well.
And so I think all of this. I think we're back here in 3 years. We're going to be a conversation. Certainly, we're back here in 20 years. We're going to be a conversation. And by the way, I think it's very exciting.
I'm reading a book right now on the yugas, the cycles of civilization.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I thought we were in Kali Yuga, but according to this book, we're not. We're in that Kali Yuga ended in the 1900s, and that we're in the next stage. And so it's got me very optimistic.
They're rebuilding after the.
They're rebuilding, and like that we're entering into an age of enlightenment, and that there's going to be some significant breakthroughs with technology in particular that allow people to have a much more balanced life and perspective and a much more balanced civilization. Like this is the doom or gloom, right, when it comes to AI. There's a lot of people that think this is going to be the end, we're going to be enslaved, it's going to be over. And then Elon's like, no, universal high income, no longer, there's no more poverty, there's no more, everyone's going to be, there's massive resources.
Nice, right. Holy shit.
You're not going to have any problems with all the things that people are hung up with in today's world, in particular with communication. If we do develop some sort of technology-based telepathy, do you think that the internet is a game changer? Technology-based telepathy is the ultimate game changer, because there will be no more frauds. There's going to be, you're not going to be able to exist as a fraud if everybody can read your mind. You're not going to be able to exist as a grifter. Everyone's going to know your motivations. Everyone's going to know everything. It's going to be very strange, but that literally could call in the next cycle of humanity, if you really think about it. Well, if you wanted to be completely optimistic. What do you think, though?
Yeah, look, so obviously that's a very big change. The technology path for that is this, so-called neural mesh. Neuralink is a step in that direction.
Yeah.
So Elon is serious about. Not specifically about what you said, but he's serious about integrated, so-called brain interfaces. But they're working, right? And it's amazing, right? Because it's like he's accomplishing miracles along the way. Like the lame can walk, the blind can see, the deaf can hear. Freaking amazing. What that company and the other companies in this space are doing, and so that's headed in the direction of you've probably seen this as people now quadriplegics who can play video games with their brain. If they can play video games, they can write messages, and then people are also working on the input side of it. So that's coming. But I would even say, look, a lot of this is going to change even without that technology, right? And So I don't know if you've seen, so the Meta glasses, they just added a heads-up display. Meta glasses, so now you can have a heads-up display. If you remember Google Glass way back when, kind of had that, but it was too expensive. Right? So they now have in the Meta Ray-Bans, they have the ability to have a heads-up display, and so you can be sitting talking to somebody and you're getting messages. And then they have this thing, you can see they have a neural wristband. So they have a wristband that can pick up the nerve transmissions from finger movements. And so you can type in one mode, you can just they can pick up your finger motions, and then there's another mode where they can actually pick up your intention to move your finger, even if you don't move your finger, by picking up your nerve impulses off of your wrist. And so, at least in theory, you could be sitting completely still, and you could be receiving messages on the glasses. You can respond with messages that
so using your mind to pretend to type.
Effectively, yes. Yeah. So, triggering that. It's like a small. Apparently, it's like a small training thing you have to go through, and then basically you can start to do it. And so you'll start to have that. Here's another. Yeah, this is the new. So they just added the screen recording. They just added.
This is Doom.
So these videos have started to go crazy. Oh, and then so he's wearing the neural wristband. So that's the neural wristband, and then he's moving, and that's his hand there, and then he's moving and playing the game with his thumb and with his fingers. If you watch.
Looks like he kind of sucks.
Well, it also doesn't work. I mean, to
Right.
just control it with just your thumb is pretty crazy.
Right, it's not that accurate.
Look,
So he's
hey.
like scrolling forward to move.
Doom is a very old game. He's on practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that it works. There's
It
another
is
one.
nuts.
There's another one that's really funny that got people all fired up, which is somebody doing one of those. It's like a Mario jumping game, and they're playing it as they're jogging in real life. And the joke was, I love this because I can finally pay attention to it outdoors. So you're actually looking at something.
Right.
So
God.
that's all starting to work. My favorite, I'll give you my favorite dystopians. I'll give you
Okay.
lie detectors. So I don't think you need telepathy to do lie detection. I think you need very high resolution cameras that might be, that could be mounted on your face or from on headphones.
Really?
Yeah. And then I think if you could get like infrared, you could get high enough resolution cameras, and you could get like infrared sensors, and you could pick up somebody's physiological change.
What if they're a sociopath?
Well, that have a huge edge
That's a problem.
in the world.
Isn't that a problem?
That could definitely be a problem. And then AI is gonna overlay all of this, right? And so a big use for things like the Meta glasses is talking to AI. The Meta glasses serve as input for AI because the AI is able to see what you see through the cameras, and then and then you can talk to the AI through the microphone in the frames, and then the AI can talk to you through the speakers in the frames.
Yeah.
Right. So all of these devices are going to start to become very magical because they all know how to have intelligence. Right, basically what's happening right now.
So, what's the dystopian perspective of the introduction, like the wholesale adoption of AI through everything?
I mean, so I would say the Doomers have an excellent marketing campaign. so I think you've probably heard all the dystopian scenarios, right? So it's the end of it's sort of. They're all going to kill us, but at some point before or after they take all the jobs.
Flat cameras.
Can't
go anywhere.
Surveillance, new forms of surveillance.
Right.
And
all the jobs.
Okay, take all the jobs, and then now they're apparently we're destroying all the water, which is actually news to us in the industry.
What do you mean?
So this is the big. There's a big anti-data center push. There's a big populist kind of revolt in the country against building new data centers.
Yeah, I watched Kevin O'Leary argue with Tucker Carlson about that.
Yeah. So Kevin has this huge project in Utah,
Right.
And he's bought. I think he bought like 40,000 acres of land. And the vast majority of it's going to be just pristine land. But he needed it for the water rights, and then he's building a data center. And it's a weird. It's taken my industry by surprise because it's a bit of a weird issue because if you're ever going to build anything, a data center is like the most benign thing you could ever build because it doesn't do anything.
What is it for?
It just sits there. It's to just like rack up thousands and thousands of computers in racks.
Right. For what?
To run anything that can run on computers, but specifically to run AI. The thing that has people freaked out is to run AI. I mean, everything else, every other kind of software runs on these things also, but
Right.
AI is the thing that's activated.
But this data center is the size of 2,000 Walmart.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's going to be surrounded by natural beauty. It's going to be 39,000 whatever 900 acres are going to be preserved. Right. So, and you're never going to see it. So nowhere, right? In the Utah desert.
sounds like you're selling it.
I'm not involved in it. I'm not involved in it. I was going to say, did you see Marty Supreme? Did you see the movie Marty Supreme?
No, I did
not.
not.
So Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank plays the bad guy in Marty Supreme.
Oh, does he?
And kills it. It's a legitimately great performance. It's absolutely, he plays a mid-century American businessman. He absolutely nails it. I'll spoil it. At one point, he literally spanks Marty. Marty's needs him for funding for all his crazy dreams. And Kevin O'Leary turns out, his character turns out to be totally.
I don't even know what the movie's about. Do you know it? Marty Supreme?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah?
It's actually based on a true story. It's about a hustler. It's a movie about hustlers making it in America.
Oh, okay.
So it's like right after World War II, and there's this young immigrant family, Marty Mauser, in New York, in the outer boroughs, and he decides that his path to fame, he has many like plans and scams for how he's going to make it in America. Many big plans to be the world's champion ping pong player, and he's going to make ping pong into a giant sport like basketball, football. And by the way, like the actor actually like apparently trained to play ping pong for like 6 months heading to this movie. It's just like amazing, incredible, most incredible ping pong matches you've ever seen.
Oh wow!
So it's the American dream. It's the
Okay.
and then he gets to make it with Gwyneth Paltrow. So it's like it's her return to movies after a long break.
When is this movie out?
This was out last year. This is the movie. It got cheated at the Oscars.
It got cheated?
It got cheated. Its fans believe it got cheated because the two other movies won all the awards. One Battle After Another. What was the movie? Sinners won all the awards.
I never even heard about it.
It's a legitimately great.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
Josh Safdie, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's got that. Uncut Gems.
Love it.
It's got that energy.
Oh.
But with this kid who is just like an absolute ball of fire, determined to succeed.
Uncut Gems freaked me out.
I love it.
Such a good movie.
It's one of the best movies I've ever seen.
It's fantastic. It's in terms of a movie that like gets your emotions going and gets you involved and gets your anxiety ramped up.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
And Adam Sandler.
And if you know anybody like that, I bet you do. I bet you know a few gambling addicts.
100%.
Yeah.
Risk addicts.
Boy, gambling addicts are fun.
And hustlers.
Fun to watch.
Yes.
Crazy people.
People to make. Anyway, so the great Kevin O'Leary was already a great investor, and he's a great actor, it turns out.
Right.
And he's building this giant data center.
Did you see Tucker's discussion with him? It's kind of interesting. Might be good to watch. Let's watch it. Let's see if we can pull a clip of it. Because Tucker was essentially saying, like, how did you get this passed? And he said they voted on it, and it turns out it's like 3 representatives in Utah. And Tucker's argument is like, how difficult would it be to subvert get a hold of 3 of these representatives and get them to vote on this thing that's not good for the people. He's saying you're going to be taking American jobs with this thing, and this is like Tucker's position. You find any clips on it? Let's just play a little of it.
If you want to give you a quick.
Yeah, no, let's.
That's no problem. I can build it in Texas. I can build it in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
But why, if it's such a good business, would you be asking taxpayers to help pay for it without giving them equity in the company? Are you giving taxpayers shares?
No, the investors get the shares. But here's why they would do
But
it.
why would the taxpayers have to?
Well,
No, if you want to start a business, why am I as a taxpayer forced to pay for it? Your business. I don't get it.
Well, let's forget about data centers.
Why am I paying for
Any
it?
manufacturing. Let's say you're going to build an aluminum sheet manufacturing facility. You go to the government there and say, look, this is going to huge capex expenditure. I'm going to hire 2,000 people. I'm going to build a community center. I'm going to pay a lot of tax on the profits in your state when I sell the aluminum, and I'm going to hire all these people who they will also pay tax. And we will build
I
a
did the
school because our
wrong
workers
app.
need a school. And. What can you give me to incentivize me versus the state right beside you, which is willing to give me an incentive package?
No, I understand. I understand that you're gaming a system in place. You didn't come up with this, but I'm just trying to understand. So the trade typically is jobs, okay? But these projects don't actually.
Well, no, it's also jobs and taxes because you're going
and taxes.
Yeah.
But then you're getting a tax break, so that doesn't really make any sense.
Only up front. Tucker, welcome to America, buddy. This is how it's gone on for 200 years. Different
Well,
That's
I
so
don't know.
random.
Lots of bad things go on for a while. But I think at some point it's worth assessing, like, why are we doing this? So
You are
on the
fair
job
to do
question-
that. You're doing it because there's a competition.
Well, I
People
run
want
a couple of businesses, and we're not getting any tax breaks. I think they're every bit as virtuous as data centers, but I'm not availing myself of that, and no one's offered. And I wouldn't take it anyway, because it's not the job of taxpayers to subsidize a private business.
It's a fair comment, but my job is to create a data center, create 2,000 jobs for long term and 10,000 manufacturing at the beginning or construction. And I'm obviously looking at multiple sites, and this won't be the last one I build.
May I ask, 2,000 jobs? Okay, so relative to the physical size of the project, which, as you noted, is multiple times the size of Manhattan, and the power draw at peak, this data center, your projections, will consume about as much energy as New York City does. But New York City provides almost 5 million jobs. And this project, by your own description, would provide about 2,000 jobs. I don't see the trade.
You definitely got that calculation wrong. By
Okay,
building
how?
a data center that trains AI, that provides productivity to the entire nation, we create millions of jobs, high-paying jobs.
AI is going to create jobs?
Yes.
I thought it was going to eliminate jobs.
You know,
net.
Just think about
Did I turn
the
on?
new technologies we don't even know yet that are going to be.
No, I think we get it.
That was a good cross-section of the
Yeah, I think we get
a
it.
lot of it was in there.
So, what is your take on that?
I have many takes on that.
Okay, I know. So you're writing things down. So that's what I'm asking you.
I'm ready to go. So, just a couple things. So, I started out talking about tax breaks for businesses. I think that's a completely legitimate debate topic. Yeah, I think talking that one, Tucker's right in the sense of some kinds of businesses get tax breaks, others don't.
Right.
That's a completely fair thing. I could argue both sides of that one. I would say that number one. Number two, the energy thing I think is a little bit of a red herring at this point, because the sort of claim, the claim is these data centers are going to they're going to use so much energy and then they're going to cause local energy bills to skyrocket. And I think it's very bad, by the way, when that happens. There is a new federal policy now exactly along these lines that I think everybody's doing in practice, which is to pair if you do data centers. So I think that can be dealt with. And then both of those connect to what I think is the big underlying issue, which they were kind of dancing around, which is what we talked about earlier with the Silicon Valley, which is, can you build anything? Can you? Can you build a factory? Can you build a chip plant? Can you build a power plant? Can you build a refinery? Can you build housing? And one of the common themes in American life for the last 30 years is the answer to those questions is generally no, you can't do any of those things. Right? So take as an example Silicon Valley. Right? So all the chips are made in Taiwan. Well, 40 years ago, all the chips were made in California. Why are all the chips made in Taiwan? Because in California, the regulations got sensitive. Make chips in California anymore, so now they're all made in Taiwan. Now we have to figure out what to do if China invades Taiwan. Right?
That's really all it is. It's just regulation.
Oh yeah. All the chip plants used to be in California.
And what regulations specifically stop them from being able to manufacture
Environmental. Yes, and you have specific issues on environmental impact on things, and then you have these umbrella things like NEPA, basically, essentially ban everything.
And what was the negative consequences of them in terms of the environment?
I mean, it's like any of these things. There's always some substance to it. There's always some risk of it's probably something chemical leakage or something like that.
Right.
If the chemicals aren't properly managed, and then there's whatever. Let me give you the ultimate story on that, which goes to the power thing. Okay, so for the last 50 years,